There are a ton of reasons to adore Tesla, and everything that its members have accomplished. Vehicles with low performance, but exceptional safety and extremely low operating costs, like this year's Cybertruck, which is based on a Generation 3 platform, and, according to Elon, could have the lowest cost of vehicle ownership if Tesla makes this decision. The vehicle could cost the customer as little as $10,000, and Tesla could still break even with almost non-existent operating costs. Indeed, that is an intriguing product for the financials, particularly in light of Elon's 5 million small and van vehicles on the Gen 3 platform. Numbers start to add up and could take Tesla's valuation to the trillions, and it's not dependent on 4680 sales. In fact, with Cal's current processes, probably around 2 to 3 years of cell and battery factories to reach an adequate supply, actually about the same time away from today to when Battery Day was presented now. Although the numbers for these next-gen vehicles look good and 5 million may sound like a lot to have to sell, but like we're saying, the price can get very low. And if you finance it, then the cost wouldn't be too dissimilar to even taking the bus for some people. Then we would hope there is ample demand. And I'm not in the fanboy camp thinking Teslas have infinite demand. And before you jump in and say the Model Y is the best-selling of 70 markets, then that is true. But it doesn't feel like the demand is growing like it used to now. The production numbers are bigger and the prices are lower. Electric may be the future, but perhaps not quite yet. There's still plenty of consumers who would rather use hybrid or still own internal combustion. Perhaps these consumers are still waiting until Legacy approve more with their wider range of electric vehicle offering. Or perhaps just waiting until electric is below the cost of ICE, like the Gen 3 will do for me. Though even if a Tesla was internal combustion, I would have still thought all the technology, infotainment, and safety would have been appealing enough for many consumers, let alone the additional advantages of electric. I guess I'm just surprised for how lower cost you can buy a Model 3 in the US. Yet the waiting list isn't growing, so I think the EV consumers are not organically growing fast enough. Therefore, it must rely on the manufacturers providing compelling products. Hopefully, Generation 3 will be the beginning of that to drive demand to the next level, and it might be supported by some advertising. However, Tesla isn't just an EV company. It's also an autonomous vehicle manufacturer. This can be what drives demand. Drivers, or soon-to-be passengers, who won't have to focus on driving every day could save an hour or more each day, allowing them to use their computer to catch up on work, get some sleep. FSD will likely improve Tesla's demand. However, Elon is not keeping FSD exclusive to Tesla. He's been vocal about offering licensing for all other OEMs. Elon says it doesn't want to create a walled garden, similar to Apple. On the other hand, FSD cost $15,000. And okay, aside from there currently being deferred revenue from those sales, if we're assuming FSD is solved in the scenario and Tesla would receive 15,000 additional gross profit per FSD order. And that's if Tesla didn't raise the price. Let's only make probably $7,000 to $10,000 profit per vehicle now. Okay, if Gen 3 gets the cost down like we're told it will be more, at least with the tax credits, but basically FSD is probably more profit per vehicle if ordered than the vehicle itself. In other words, it's all about the software for the big numbers. However, if Tesla can only make 5 million of these Gen 3 vehicles a year, and that night will be reached another 3 or 4 years, then there is a limited amount Tesla can sell with FSD. It will be the licensing to the legacy orders that will expand Tesla's software business. Rather than making more hardware for the software, let other companies can make the hardware, also sell the software. In the next couple of years, if Ford and GM license Tesla's software, their combined sales will be sufficient to generate several million EVs annually, perhaps doubling Tesla's software offering. And that would be just for their EVs. Maybe they could license it for their ICE vehicles too, depending on how that coincides with Tesla's mission. And like we said, this is a product that sells you time. More time to do what you want, rather than drive, albeit having to do whatever it is inside a vehicle. But there is obviously value in that, a lot of value that people are willing to pay for. Even now, people are paying $15,000. And you still have to concentrate the entire time. So basically any car purchased with FSD, or if it's a subscription model, the majority of profit will come from that software rather than the car itself. So if Tesla is able to increase their offering of FSD through other OEMs, it would likely triple the number of potential customers fairly soon as the legacy start to catch up with Excel manufacturing. And that would be if it was exclusive to EV, as obviously a far potentially higher offering if it was ICE too. I would think it likely that Tesla do offer some sort of revenue share for the technology. For example, if Ford sold FSD with their vehicles, perhaps that Ford receives $5,000, and Tesla receives $10,000, that's a massive profit for Ford from one vehicle, and would dramatically change things for the company. On the other hand, perhaps Tesla don't give anything to Ford, and the fact Ford is able to compete with Tesla when it comes to the technology is reason enough for Ford to adopt it. Either way, Tesla will certainly be clipping the ticket. Sure, there is additional hardware required, some extra cameras and chips, but not that major considering the possible sale price. You might think, why not just go all in and use the Tesla operating system? Since it will work with Tesla superchargers, offer all the infotainment with a dependable, user-friendly operating system, and be compatible with all the other services Tesla offers, like dog mode and Sentry mode, it would also turn legacy orders into smart cars. Take a look at the Ford system, which is currently nothing like an OEM Tesla system. This opens up the potential for all the other applications. Tesla selling 10 or 20 million cars a year is great, but limiting the customer base for FSD compared to around 40 million a year, especially if they manage to get the likes of Volkswagen and Toyota to adopt it. However, if Ford starts offering it, then it will be a competitive advantage over legacy orders, and I would have thought that they would have to follow suit, or surely would if they notice Ford sales increasing as a result. If Tesla have FSD solved by, say, 2028 or something, and there are 15 million Tesla and legacy EVs here with Tesla FSD, then if half of them adopt FSD and it costs 15,000, then there's over $100 billion a year. No company in history has been able to produce $100 billion a year in gross profit, or if they are paying $300 a month in subscription, and there's 10 million customers, and that's $3 billion gross profit a month just from FSD, but then potentially an additional 5 million accumulating annually as more people adopt EVs or vehicles with Tesla FSD. Thus, in a few more years, it may reach $6 billion every month, and in the early years of the following decade, it may surpass $100 billion annually only through the subscription model. This amount will only increase as more vehicles test produce, and as more OEMs manufacture and implement. I don't see any other options available to them. Tesla will issue additional debt in the range of tens of billions of dollars in some circumstances to boost manufacturing. In the bear case, however, we project that Tesla will sell 3.2 million vehicles in 2024. Consider the data by itself, and try to imagine how a competitor could match it in terms of both volume and the technology used. The FSD on Tesla seems like a very serious mode. This is how many Tesla investors believe that since FSD will be so lucrative and significant that a solution will eventually be found. One day, fund managers, stock analysts, and fanboys will all have their say. But many of these tester investors are willing to wait 10 years if need be because the potential is so great that they don't care about the noise of quarter-to-quarter fluctuations in production or deliveries when compared to what they see in the distance. Fully autonomous vehicles.